Today is, according to my diary, today is November the 29th, 2016. It is going on 1:45 in the afternoon here in West Michigan. In my last video, I mentioned that I would be getting some books in the mail, and I thought just to break the cycle or how I do my videos, I would do what I got. I got them today and this afternoon, so I thought I'd just show you what I got in the mail. So the first one is I've been mentioning about Henry David Thoreau, and that one of my subscribers, BookTube guy who's new, he's only done I think 3 videos, plans to go through Henry Thoreau's Walden, looking at his philosophy. And I have mentioned that I have a big collection of Henry Thoreau's writings and literary studies, critical essays, and all kinds of stuff on Henry David Thoreau. And I was looking at Amazon the other day, and that there was in the New York Review of Books Classics series, this volume, The Journal, 1837 to 1861, Henry David Thoreau. The published journals of Henry David Thoreau are like 55 volumes. I've seen editions of his journals, and there's all kinds of things in them. He did sketches. He identified plant life. He wrote about Indian life, and I don't know. I just thought this would add to my Henry David Thoreau collection. That's why I got it. And this book is I think this is. This is a book that I read books on European history. This is one that was mentioned on BookTube by Steve. Pursuit of Power, Europe, 1815 to 1914. That's a very interesting period in not only European history, but world history. This is by Richard J. Evans, best-selling author of The Third Reich. And it looked really interesting, and so I ordered that. So I got that in the mail. This is a Third Reich trilogy. Oh, he wrote a trilogy on the Third Reich. Shoot. But anyway, it covers Europe from 1815 to 1914, which is one of my favorite periods of time. So I got that in the mail. And then I got this box in the mail. This is a book I've came across. This is on Bear, The Life and Times of Augustus, Owsley, Stanley III. He was a very interesting person in the 60s counterculture. I just came across this a couple of weeks ago on Amazon, and the guy who wrote this, Robert Greenfield, he did a biography on Timothy Leary that I have, and he also did an oral biography on Jerry Garcia. It's kind of interesting. Today I was at a thrift store and I was standing at the cash register, and the young fellow was talking to me, and he noticed I had a long gray beard, and he said there was a guy that comes in who has a long white beard, and he at Christmas time he goes down and dresses up as Santa Claus. And I told him, well, one time somebody looked at me and said, "You look like Jerry Garcia." And the guy at the cash register, the clerk, he looked at me. He didn't know who Jerry Garcia was. He never even knew who the Grateful Dead was. So that's how the generations. Anyway, this is Bear, the Life and Times of Augustus Owsley Stanley III. It says here, Augustus Owsley Stanley III, better known by his nickname Bear, was one of the most iconic figures in the Cultural Revolution that changed both America and the world during the 1960s. Owsley's high-octane rocket fuel enabled Ken Kesey and his merry pranksters to put on the acid test. It also powered much of what happened on stage at Montgomery Pop. Owsley turned on Pete Townsend of The Who and Jimi Hendrix. The shipment of LSD that Owsley sent John Lennon resulted in the Beatles' Magical Mystery Tour album and film. Convinced that the Grateful Dead were destined to become the world's greatest rock and roll band, Owsley provided the money that kept them going during their early days. As their lifetime sound man, he then faithfully recorded many of the Dead's greatest live performances and designed the massive space-age system that came to be known as the Wall of Sound. Award-winning author and biographer Robert Greenfield's definitive biography of the Grateful Dead legend masterfully takes us through Owsley's incredible life and times to bring us a full picture of this fascinating man for the first time. So yeah, that's why I got it, because I'm a student, well, not only a student, but a product of the 60s, and it looked really interesting. I really enjoyed Robert Greenfield's definitive biography on Timothy Leary, and maybe there's some people who are watching this video who do not know who the Grateful Dead is, don't know who Jerry Garcia is, do not know who Timothy Leary is, or even John Lennon, which I'd be surprised. So anyway, I got that. And then also, I got in the Amazon this book, Black Elk, The Life of the American Visionary. This by Joe Jackson. When I was in high school back in the 60s, Black Elk, his book, which is like autobiography, called Black Elk Speaks, was something that was always found on the bookshelves of that when I was on communes or in Berkeley, and when I was in high school, everybody was reading Black Elk Speaks. I used to I don't know if I ever read it myself or had a copy, but I wanted this biography. I collect biographies on American Indians. I don't like even using the word American Indians. I don't know, I would like to know how they would call themselves, but this looked really interesting. Black Elk, the Native American holy man, it says in the flap here, is known to millions of readers around the world from his 1932 testimonial Black Elk Speaks, adapted by the poet John G. Nyhart from a series of interviews with Black Elk and other elders at the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota. Black Elk Speaks is one of the most widely read and admired works of American Indian literature. Cryptic and deeply personal, it has been read as a spiritual guide, a philosophical manifesto, and a text to be deconstructed while the historical Black Elk has faded from view. In this sweeping book, Joe Jackson provides the definitive biographical account of a figure whose dramatic life converged with some of the most momentous events in the history of the American West. Born in the era of rising violence between the Sioux, white settlers, and U.S. government troops, Black Elk killed his first man at Little Bighorn, witnessed the death of his second cousin, Crazy Horse, traveled to Europe with Buffalo Bill's Wild West show. Upon his return, he was swept up in the traditionalist ghost dance movement, shaken by the massacre at Wounded Knee. Black Elk was not a warrior, instead accepting the path of a healer and holy man, motivated by a powerful prophetic vision that he struggled to understand. Although Black Elk embraced Catholicism in later years, he continued to practice the old ways clandestinely and never refrained from seeking the meaning in the visions of both haunted and inspired him. In Black Elk, Jackson has crafted a true American epic, restoring its subject the richness of his times, gorgeously portraying a life of heroism and tragedy, adaptation, and endurance in the era of permanent crisis on the Great Plains. So that looked really interesting, and that's why I got this. That's what I also got in the mail, a CD. I can't remember what this one is. So go looking at, let me see what it is. I buy a lot of CDs. I don't always remember what they are because they come from all over the world. So which is this one? Oh, this is the new, this is from a German band called Meldai. This is their new one, yeah. Can't remember the title. It looks like it's called Still. So I got that in the mail. They're like a techno kind of, it's kind of interesting because it's kind of really black metal, but they intersperse it with classical piano music, and it's very symphonic, and then it has this kind of it's not just total chaos. It sounds like really high tech rock and roll, high tech metal kind of. It's really interesting. They're from Germany, I think. I'm not really sure, but I have to look at that. So I got that in the mail. So that's what I got in the mail. I got Black Elk, Life of the American Visionary by Joe Jackson. Bear, The Life and Times of Augustus Owsley Stanley III by Robert Greenfield. I got The Journal, 1837 to 1861. This is edited by, who's this edited by? By Damion Searls. This is not the whole 55 volumes. This is just selections. I have other selections of Thoreau's journals in my library, but this one I didn't have, so that's why I got for my collection. And then I got Pursuit of Power, Europe, 1815 to 1914 by Richard J. Evans. So those are the books and I got this CD in the mail. That's what I got in the mail today. I did go to thrift stores this morning, but I'll show those in another video. I also went to office supply store and got some more paper for my journals. I just love these pens, these Staples rollerball. I have a whole bunch of them. Let's see, I got this, 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 this. I got tons of them. I love these optic flow pins. And every time I go to an office supply store, Staples, I have to buy some. So I got that. Love paper. I just love paper. You know, the simple things in life. When you keep a journal, all you need is paper and a pen, and you can just write down whatever comes to your mind and heart. And that's why I like about keeping a journal, because you can just sit there and write down whatever you want, and you're not there to write for the world or for anybody, but just for your own enjoyment. So I hope you're having a good day. Do pray that you have a good week. Thank you for the new subscribers. Feel free to ask questions. Like I've said in my other videos, I'm a simple man. I'm not that bright, but I'll try to be as honest and forthright as possible. So until next time, bye.